Welcome to the Cheating Story Workshop. After viewing, pass this tale on to someone who may find it enlightening. The man discovered that trust is not about assuming no one would ever harm you. It's about ensuring safety when they do. 6 years ago, I encountered Olivia at a charity event. I was 34 then, she was 28. I had spent my 20s constructing a software consulting firm from scratch, working tirelessly for 80 hours per week, subsisting on instant ramen and determination. By the time we met, I had achieved a level of comfort, not opulent, but owning my home, boasting robust retirement funds, and being able to travel without worrying about bank balances first. Olivia was a marketing coordinator at a nonprofit, stunningly beautiful, captivating, and she possessed an ability to make you feel as if you were the sole focus of her attention. We dated for 18 months before I proposed. Everything seemed perfect, yet I wasn't naive. My business partner Frank had endured a painful divorce 2 years prior. His former spouse had never held employment during their union, never participated in the business, yet received half of everything due to his lack of focus on legalities during affection. I witnessed him forfeiting the house he owned prior to their encounter. I watched him dissolve investments amassed since college. When Olivia and I got engaged, I advocated for a prenuptial agreement, which she found unappealing. No one enjoys discussing property distribution during wedding preparations. However, I clarified it was not about mistrust, but safeguarding what I'd acquired before we connected: the house, business shares, retirement savings. Everything I accumulated before our marriage would stay mine. Everything we created together would be shared. Following a series of tense discussions, she consented. Her attorney examined it. My attorney examined it. And we incorporated one specific condition at my insistence: infidelity clause. In case of marital infidelity, the offending party waives all rights to marriage assets and spousal support. Olivia consented without much resistance, even making a joke about it at the time. "It's good that I only have eyes for you," she said. Initially, I trusted her. Our first 3 years were blissful. We journeyed together, renovated our home jointly. She was promoted twice. I secured 2 major clients. We discussed starting a family. However, small changes began to occur in year 4. She joined a new gym, exercising at unusual hours such as 5:30 a.m. or 9 p.m. She justified this by claiming it suited her schedule. Her wardrobe transformed for work, with increased emphasis on makeup and reflection time before mirrors. When I praised her, she would nonchalantly dismiss it. Her phone became an appendage, frequently distracted from me, face down on various surfaces, and the password changed without notice. Not typically suspicious, but I'm not blind either. One evening, she claimed to be working late on a project due. I passed by her workplace at 10 p.m., finding the entire floor in darkness. When she arrived home at 11:30, I inquired about her work. "Exhausting," she replied, "but we completed it." This was the first verified lie. I chose not to confront her immediately for fear that my suspicion might jeopardize our marriage, or, if true, I needed a strategic approach. Instead, I began documenting each event, not with malice but with thoroughness. Through our joint account, I retrieved old phone records and found numerous texts to an unknown number. There were lengthy calls that lasted for over 40 minutes an hour, which coincided with her work events and gym sessions. Convinced of my findings, I employed a private detective, not a budget option, but a retired police detective named Paul, who was suggested by Frank's divorce lawyer. Paul didn't engage in sensational surveillance or long-range photography. Instead, he conducted background checks, identified patterns, and verified facts. 3 weeks later, he gave me a file. The initial infidelity involved Connor, her ex-colleague from the nonprofit, who had reconnected with her on LinkedIn and moved their networking coffee meetings to hotel visits. Paul presented credit card statements, hotel check-ins, even a picture of them leaving together. Matters worsened, as the second affair was Liam, her personal trainer at the gym. The early morning sessions now made sense. Paul verified they had been seen together at his apartment on multiple occasions. The third affair was Tyler, a client from her current company. Business trips I'd helped her pack for became romantic vacations. The fourth affair involved Brandon, someone she met through a friend's wedding. For 8 months, she had been consistently messaging with Ethan, Kyle, and Nathan. The first was a bartender at her favorite hangout spot. The second was an old college classmate who returned to town, and the third was her supervisor. The revelation that she had been involved with the third hurt the most since she frequently discussed him, even complaining about his demanding nature. However, it wasn't just one relationship. There were 7 different men, some brief, others ongoing, all detailed in communications I found distressing to read through. I didn't lash out or act impulsively. Instead, I made multiple copies of the messages and stored them in 3 separate places for safekeeping. Called an attorney, Catherine, who proved crucial. Middle-aged, razor-sharp mind, vast experience in enforcing prenuptial agreements, over 100 cases. She scrutinized the evidence file, nodded approvingly, looked at me, and said, "This is rock solid. My prenup was duly executed. The infidelity clause is enforceable here, and I have solid proof that would stand up in court." She's not getting a penny. What's next? I asked. You file for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, she replied. We keep our evidence under wraps until we need it. Let her lawyer push for more, then reveal everything and watch the case crumble. 3 days later, I filed the papers on the kitchen counter, where Olivia found them. Her reaction was dramatic. Tears, shock. Why did you act this way? There seems to be a misunderstanding. Let's clarify what I wish to discuss, but I remained silent, only indicating the lawyer's contact details on the documents. 2 months later, we stood before Judge Morrison for the preliminary asset hearing. As anticipated, Gerald, Olivia's attorney, was everything stereotypical: an expensive suit, slicked back hair, and a condescending demeanor. He began by portraying me as a domineering, uncaring husband who had strong-armed an unfair prenup onto his naive client, demanding spousal support, half the house value, a share of my business equity. Judge Morrison listened attentively before turning to Catherine. Does your client deny that the prenup was willingly signed? She inquired. No, Your Honor, Catherine replied. In fact, we are ready to uphold it completely, Gerald sneered. Your Honor, a prenup can be contested on numerous grounds. Dear one, absence of independent legal representation might suggest unconscionable actions. Was your client represented by a separate attorney? Judge Morrison inquired. Yes, but did she consent willingly? Technically, yet we'll scrutinize the conditions, the judge replied, flipping through the papers. There's an infidelity clause. Is your client disputing this provision? Gerald adjusted his tie. My client denies any breach of the marital contract. These allegations are groundless and I object. Your Honor, Catherine stated calmly. Not a legal objection, but I wish to clarify. These aren't allegations, they're verifiable facts. The judge raised an eyebrow. You have evidence, substantial evidence, Your Honor. Gerald's smirk faded. Your Honor, this is hearsay and speculation. Catherine retrieved documents from her briefcase. Not hearsay, verified proof. If the court wishes to examine it immediately, we can move forward, or if Mr. Gerald wishes to re-examine his client's stance, suggesting it could spare the court's resources, Judge Morrison leaned inward. Show me, please. Catherine passed her a neatly bound folder, not the entire file, but only the executive summary. Names, dates, locations, photographic evidence, hotel receipts, text message logs. All items arranged chronologically. The courtroom fell silent, and I observed Olivia's face pale. Gerald extended his hand for the folder, but Judge Morrison kept it at arm's length, scanning meticulously. Mrs. Harrison, Judge Morrison said slowly, were you involved in extramarital affairs during your marriage? Olivia opened her mouth. No responses were elicited, Your Honor. Gerald attempted to intervene. My client isn't required to respond. I'm posing a direct and pertinent question regarding prenup enforcement, the judge clarified. Mrs. Harrison. Olivia glanced at me, then her lawyer, then the floor. I erred, she murmured softly. How many errors? The judge inquired. Catherine rose. Mr. Judge, permitting me to add, we possess substantiated proof of 7 distinct extramarital relationships spanning a 2-year time frame. The judge's facial expression remained unchanged, yet I observed her grasp on the folder tighten. Gerald hastily touched his client's arm and murmured urgently. Olivia nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks as she uttered, 7. The judge echoed, yes. Catherine responded. She extracted a solitary page from her own file. Connor Mitchell, Liam Foster, Tyler Warren, Brandon Hughes, Ethan Cross, Kyle Jensen, and Nathan Pierce. For each relationship, we have verified evidence, such as hotel records, credit card transactions, witness testimonies, and electronic correspondences. I observed Gerald's facial expression as Catherine recited the names. He recognized some of them, evident from his jaw tightening upon hearing Nathan Pierce. Whispering softly, he requested a brief pause. "Your Honor." They exited, and through the courtroom window, I saw Gerald angrily gesturing, Olivia crying, and him shaking his head. After a quarter of an hour, they returned. "Your Honor," Gerald said, his voice less assured, more subdued. "Following consultation with my client, we consent to uphold the prenuptial agreement as written, relinquishing all claims regarding assets and support." Judge Morrison nodded in agreement. "As you wish." The prenup was thus validated. Mr. Harrison will retain his premarital possessions. Marital assets would be distributed fairly based on documented contributions, likely minimal given the brief duration of marriage and separate accounts mentioned here. He glanced at Olivia. "Mrs. Harrison, you breached a clear term of your marital agreement. The court will uphold that agreement. You are only entitled to your personal possessions and any assets acquired separately during the marriage." Olivia didn't look up. Gerald gathered his case files. As we exited, I noticed him stop in the hallway, pull Olivia aside, and speak. She nodded while wiping her eyes, and Catherine leaned over to me. He informed her he was withdrawing from the case. He would no longer represent her until the final decree. "Why?" I inquired. "Because you humiliated him. He walked into that courtroom believing a settlement would be granted. You made him appear incompetent before the judge. Professionals have their egos, and you bruised his." The divorce was finalized 8 weeks later. Olivia left the following day after the hearing, choosing not to contest anything, nor ask for leniency. She merely collected her belongings and departed. I learned through mutual acquaintances that she moved in with her sister. It seems she lost her job due to a complaint filed by Nathan's wife with HR, as it was discovered they were having an affair. Previously informed she relocated to another state, I don't feel triumphant. Instead, I feel indifferent. I safeguarded myself because I'd witnessed what could happen. In hindsight, Frank's fate might have been mine. The house purchased at age 26, the self-constructed business, and the retirement savings accumulated over years of meager ramen meals. All could have been shared with someone who deceived me for years systematically. A prenuptial agreement wasn't about lacking romance. It was about being pragmatic. People will say prenups signify mistrust in a partner, but that's not accurate. They represent understanding that people evolve. They grasp that love isn't an assurance, and self-preservation isn't the same as anticipating the worst. Currently, I am 40, unmarried, and dedicated to my career, with plans to date again at some point in the future. Should another union occur, a new prenuptial agreement will be drafted not due to skepticism but prudence. That list of 7 names, safely stored away along with each receipt, message, and piece of evidence, serves as a reminder, never to be revisited. It's a testament to the lessons learned from disregarding warning signs. If you find yourself watching this video and feeling uneasy about your relationship, trust your instincts, record everything, secure legal protection, and never underestimate the possibility of deceit in love. Remember, love does not equate to invulnerability against betrayal. Thanks for tuning into Cheating Story Lab. Subscribe if these narratives resonate with you, and share this with someone who might need this message. The comment section is open. Your story deserves to be heard too.